Okay, so we are going to talk about the team dynamics, and in particular, he chose cooperation and competition. I do prefer collaboration and competition, but that is semantically picky. Yeah, but we come to that later. Okay, first of all, can we quickly, I'm always curious about this, can we quickly define a project again? Yeah, what is a project?
Transient endeavour with a set start and finish point that achieves a something goal or achieves a set outcome or preset outcome within a scope. I can't remember the APM definition. It had transient endeavours in there somewhere.
Yeah, this is actually what I wanted, but this is really the first answer. I'm very impressed with this. Okay, so simplified. Well, yeah, it's a brilliant definition. I'm very impressed.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, but what it comes to, yeah, we are after achieving something or doing something in a collaborative effort, yeah, or maybe in cooperation. There are limits in definition in here, but it's a key, or it's a thing at heart with project managers. Yeah, and this is important to recognize. Anybody else coming? No? Okay. I like as well how everybody has moved upwards. But we have moved the tables forward, I think, isn't it? Something has changed in the layout. I have less space, but everybody else moves further away. So anyway, yeah, this is what we call like building barriers. So yeah, just having safety line, yeah, to the lecture. It's okay. Okay, so let's think a little bit about it. Yeah, cooperation and competition, introductory statements, and then I want a little bit your brain power to make sense of this, because clearly it's not very transparent. Yeah, so cooperation is necessary for teams to operate smoothly and effectively. I have slight issues with the word smoothly again, but hey, we just go with it. Yeah. Second, team members can, though, experience mixed motive situations that include both cooperation and competition. Then a third one, team members may be competitive due to cultural, personal, and organizational reasons. And I think this was really the key point that I wanted to make. Oh no, wait, sorry, I forgot my fourth one. The cooperation can be fostered through strategies focused on group goals, communication, and interpersonal actions. Now, this is really what we will go through on a very basic level. Yeah? So be aware. I have pointed there were no references with it, so I put a lot of references in so that you can read up if you're interested in a particular notion of it. Yeah? And you will see that a few notions like culture have shifted enormously, and we have seen the shift already. Yeah, we did it actually in the questionnaire last week. You know, the painful experience that you will never forget, the 1.5 hours that you spent on the survey. Yeah, that was culture. Yeah, no, that was a cultural survey. Yeah, so let's think a little bit about it. Cooperation and competition. What are your experiences in teams with cooperation or competition? Did you have any? Have you been working in a team or group before, where you had actually suddenly this notion of collaboration or cooperation, or maybe the opposite, you had suddenly competition in the team? And how was it? What was your impression from that?
Pretty good. They're quite useful things.
Both?
Yeah, both of them really. You need I think an aspect of both. I've been in different teams doing things where they focus more towards cooperation, some more to competition, but in both cases you can sort of see that perhaps competition is not as useful, but it is an important aspect really to get the best out of it.
Well, why are you skeptical of the competition?
Well, I think teams can work without, like they'll actually get by without competition within them, but they struggle to get by without cooperation. That's a slightly more vital point to begin with, I think, for a team to work. But
and why was it? Why do you think cooperation is so important for a team?
Well,
How did you feel there? Was it? Could you not all do your? We were thinking of our mechanistic part. Yeah, you do what you can do, and the next person comes in and does this part.
Yeah, that's to me sort of defeats the definition of team. That's that's a mechanical process, but generally a team takes on a job that is too big for one person to do alone, or is undertaken because as a team they're able to achieve it. So they're already bound by this cooperative notion that in working together they'll achieve the goal that they wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Yeah. Okay, you have even the hypothesis that they wouldn't be able to achieve it otherwise. Yeah. So cooperation very important. But let's think maybe of a few concrete examples that we can think a little bit about it. Did you have any experience that you would want to share with us?
I used to run a restaurant and I needed a chef, a waiter, a waitress and a barman, and a maitre d' and a supervisor to make it work as a business or as a project. Without any one of those team members cooperating with the others, it just ground to a halt instantly.
What were the critical cut points where it may have become competitive rather than cooperative?
It was more competitive where multiple people held the same position within the team. So if there's a group of waitresses or a group of chefs, they would vie against each other for the particular role. But generally all of the sort of constituent parts, the kitchen, the waiters, the cleaners, the whatever, all had to cooperate, but then they competed within the micro groups.
So this is interesting. You have already here a notion of role, maybe even profession, depending on who you recruited there, which is interesting because if you think about it, if you have a big dinner table, you bring your whole family along. You want actually the waiters to serve you at the same time, not that one has to start on your dinner table and is finished with the meal, and the last one just gets the meal. That is of course a nightmare. So there is as well collaborative or cooperative efforts required within a waiter team. But you notice their competition.
Yeah, they would compete. I think hospitality, because there's a lot of bonus incentives, it's a very competitive industry because people are personally rewarded based on their individual effort when it's a team project, basically.
And this is as well from the organization, or is it more
from the organization and from customers? So there'd be sort of promotion schemes, but also tips. So
you have two negative enforcers against collaboration, if you want.
Well, I suppose not directly against, but I know, they're more competitive.
Okay, interesting. Maybe other examples. That was very good, actually. I have to admit, we have covered quite a few of my points that I have. Any other experiences you want to share, maybe?
Coming back to the hospitality industry, I had a different experience. Because when we were working in a restaurant, you also have the cooperation thing between waiters and chefs, and they all sort of together are like in hierarchy or under a manager, sort of restaurant manager. But we had difficulties in our group, so it led more to competition between, for example, waitresses and chefs, because they were not like defined to have a different role or a different position, but chefs often saw themselves higher ranked or in a higher position than waitresses, although they didn't have the same authority, so that sometimes led to competition. And also when it came to, for example, the bonus incentive, we had a different system. It was like a tip system that went you to a general tip idea, so then by the end of the day you got sort of served out of the tip drawer based on hours that you worked, so then often the waitresses got the tips, but they didn't see back at the end of the day, if that makes sense.
Oh,
sense.
this
So
is
then the chef
fascinating.
got
So
the
we
tip,
have here
sort
two
of.
trust loops.
So they have two trust loops in it, yeah, in a sense. So then it was always like arguing most of the, about that bonus system. It wasn't really working for either way.
Did you have a feeling, that I have two questions here, this is very fascinating insight, yeah?
Yeah.
So you have actually kind of, what was the manager thinking here? The manager was trying probably, oh yeah, sorry?
Yeah, the manager sort of had the idea everybody contributes to the food and the experience, so
Yeah.
it's not fair if only waitress people get a tip. That was the idea of it, or that they only get a tip based on service.
I don't
because they
even think
see
that
a
it was
tip.
negatively oriented. I think the
Yeah.
idea was to have a shared goal. You have
Yeah, well,
the better
yeah,
everybody is contributing,
everybody's contributing, and they said, oh, well, okay, the chef also contributes because he makes the food. But then, because the chefs, of course, work more hours, it was like that people on the waitress staff thought, like, yeah, but if I don't give a smile, then I don't get a tip. So, but in the end of the day, they didn't receive any share because they had sort of made less hours than the chefs. So that was always a bit of a struggle. But I think mostly the competition-wise was that not everybody was seen equal by definition, because people themselves.
So competition
had
for power,
yeah, there was a competition for power, because
and second
even though
competition.
they all had the same power, they saw themselves as a different.
Who did the cash business? Did the waiters do the cash business, or?
Yes, the waiters and the managers.
Okay,
and
then.
Sometimes one of the chef in our case, because he was like the substitute restaurant manager. So if the restaurant manager wasn't there, he was sort of, he took charge of the restaurant.
And
sometimes
do you believe that everybody contributed honestly their tips towards a shared pot?
Yes, because
okay, this is good.
you can't take them for yourselves. Like, you have the system that basically, if you have tips, yeah, either people put it in their own pocket, like by the table, but I don't think that actually happened. You basically take the money, and the money goes to the restaurant manager.
Yeah. Well, this is.
I have to say, the people I worked with, because I was a waitress there, it was such a small business that I don't think people actually steal money.
Okay.
And if usually people pay a tip because they get the bill, and then they say, instead of I paid 30 euros, they said make it 35, and then it's all electronically calculated, so it becomes as a general whole, so you don't even see how much tip in the end of the day was sort of collected by everyone.
Yeah, this is a very dangerous strategy.
That people started to not trust the restaurant manager because they didn't see any tip coming back. And they were like calculating from themselves during the week, hey, but I think I already took in a tip for like 100 euros for this week.
Yeah.
And they never saw it anything of it back on their payroll. If that makes sense. So sometimes people mostly distrusted the restaurant manager of covering his own bills instead of actually.
So this is kind of
so
competition, trying cooperation, and then it went quite bad.
Yeah.
And then, as waitresses, you all agreed, yeah, that this was not a fair system for you guys, actually.
No, everyone. I think most of all the chefs were not happy with the system. I think nobody was actually happy with the system.
Okay, so everybody's unhappy, but it's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is well a way of.
Yeah, that's the other way of saying it. Yeah. In the end of the day, it all came down to competition, although it was sort of generally said that everybody had the same role and.
We have studies in this sector in particular, yeah, in America, and it shows that people become incredibly unhonest. Yeah, if a double trust loop is based and the reward is actually kind of minimized out of their pocket. So then they are, as what you indicated, yeah, they become potentially unhonest. Yeah, so in your case it wasn't the case. Yeah. But I've seen this in other cases. I used to work in the Ministry of Defense of Germany when I was very young, and I was a barkeeper there. And I recognized this from my waitress. We had diplomats and official people for guests, and they give different tips. Yeah, so you would have enormous tips suddenly being handed out to one, and this created all kinds of dynamics. But often there were as well the incentives that the reward was distributed, and we had similar issues around this, and it created a lot of tension, and cooperative efforts often ended up in competition, unfortunately. Yeah? Who has contributed the most, or very. There were other debates as well to be had, but interesting, yeah. Yeah. Maybe another short example on this. Any sports clubs?
I was slightly sick, although I wouldn't give an example.
Yeah.
Which was, I think, when I was training for the Navy, the setup basically was all the officers, the leaders that we were training together. So these were all, it was a very competitive environment. We're all put together to complete tasks that you can only complete as a team, which starts off with a very competitive, everyone wants to take charge, everyone wants to be the manager, everyone's trying to run it, and it doesn't work. And then it slowly over time materializes into automatically just assessing the best team dynamics and cooperating on just by witnessing which teams work better together, not necessarily who's the prime person for it, but which team work better together. So it sort of it went from high competition into cooperation, sort of the natural progression.
It's kind of a disadvantage, whatever team comes together first. Those are the learning teams, yeah.
Yeah.
Till they realize in later teams, okay, we have to collaborate together anyway. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, or cooperate. Yeah.
It was the full result was the object, not sort of everyone who was really trying to get their individual little bits done.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, very good point. There are three notions with it, and we haven't touched too much on it. But I will quickly give you what the literature indicates to this question. So high levels of cooperation can result in conformity and poor decision making. I don't think that we touched so much on this, but has anybody come across something like that? Where you have an environment where you all collaborate, oh yeah, this is wonderful, and it's too streamlined, and you don't really see the environment shifts anymore, or what the client really wants. This is, I suppose, a huge danger for a project team. Yeah? If you have you come across something like this, maybe?
In terms of assignments, yes. Like we had a group presentation sort of thing, and earlier previously, and we couldn't actually come to a conclusion because we were all very. I mean. Yeah, we were all okay with each other's ideas, but we couldn't sort of make decisions for what we actually wanted, and it kind of led to our assignment being not that good, because everybody was okay with. I mean, there was lack of authority, and I mean nobody was ready to take charge of doing something, and everybody was like. Okay with whatever the person was like, whatever input the other person was giving, people were just okay with it. So we couldn't decide on a time frame, or we couldn't decide on I don't know. There were so many factors we couldn't decide on. It just.
So you have sold the story now in a different light. Yeah, you could have given it as well the spin-off, like we embraced each other's ideas and just. Yeah. Collaborated on everything, yeah? Now there was maybe more positive spin to this, yeah?
Yeah, it was.
But you had already this...
Yeah, we already started having like a negative, opinion of... Like, not a negative opinion, but things started falling apart at the very beginning because everybody was so...
also it's opposite in a way.
It was opposite, yeah. It wasn't really good. It was a good experience, but it wasn't very productive. Mm-hmm. Because there were no new ideas coming up, and everybody was like just
people were sticking to whatever was, you know, whatever
Their
limited
remit,
ideas
yeah.
that
Okay.
some people were giving.
Mm.
So that kind of, I mean.
So
didn't
this
really-
is so a little bit the poor, not poor decision making. This is more the opposite, isn't it? You haven't really come together as a group, so the ideas kind
No,
of
the thing-
compete or.
The thing was, in the beginning, see, there was too much of cooperation, I think, which is not really good because, I mean, you need some, you need a little bit of competition in a group for the group to succeed, because that way, what happens is when a group comes together, somebody already decides to take charge. Like one person, there's a leader, like even though you don't intend to be a leader or intend to, give directions or in order to get things done, somebody has to, tell the other people that this is how, define a framework, tell people that this is how things are going to be done. But primarily because nobody was ready to take charge, nobody was agreeing to.
Okay, so lack of
be that
leadership,
person.
yeah.
Lack of leadership.
Well,
and-
we actually have a look into that, but I suppose with the cooperation can result in over-conformity is more a notion that was an outcome from your group,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's really when you harmonize too much, yeah. If the ideas are very similar, the norms and values that you have are as well the same, but you actually perform output to a very diverse audience, yeah. So if the values are not like necessarily in an open dialogue, yeah, so you kind of like a little bit inward looking. We will put light on this and look at it at different ways. Another one that was suggested by literature is high levels of competition can negatively affect teams, even when they are successful. This is slightly cryptic. I want to take this a little bit apart. How can it be negatively affecting the team and still be successful? What is the difference here?
I think the team would perform below their capacity. That doesn't mean the team doesn't perform well, but just the team didn't perform well enough that they could have performed.
Or maybe
Yeah.
the results could be really good. The end results could be really good, but as a team, people start falling apart.
Yeah, this is small. Yeah, you both said it right. Yeah, just with different words. But one is managing the project successful. Yeah, so the project felt as a success to the team, but the other one is having project success. The output, or as you put it, is successful. This is the difference. Yeah, and this is exactly what competition can cause, according to the literature at least. By the way, there's no empiry for this. Yeah, the empiry indicates actually both is possible. Yeah, so the opposite can be true too. Yeah, so cooperation can result to conformity and poor decisions, but cooperation can as well lead to amazing outcomes. So those are not neglective. Be careful here. The literature is not always as good as a scientific hypothesis. Yeah, so and here high levels of competition can negatively affect the teams and potentially as well the outcome. Yeah, but there's again no empiry for this really that is consistent. Yeah, but the literature clearly claims this. Yeah. I hope that makes sense. Then I have another one, but these challenging influences are often part of the teams, so they are mixed motives. Yeah, and here really referring that when you come together in a team and you cooperate, are you all coming in with the same motives? Now this is a big question. Are you all after the same? You may want to think about this. Yeah. So let's look a little bit into this, the mixed motives in particular. The essence of teamwork is the cooperative interactions of the team members. Now this is quite clear. Then as a second one, we have the cooperation is limited by competition. This was the claim earlier on, especially when goals cannot be shared. So here the example that was artificially tried to being dealt with your manager in your restaurant. Yeah? Team members should share a common goal or common goals. Yeah? But there's a third one. competition causes team members to work against each other. Team members cease to share common goals. So now we have to come a little bit to terms with this. First of all, think a little bit about your last team or project experience. Did you all have the same motive that you went into? Okay, some not. We have to get here the polarization, right? Yeah. Why do you think it's not the same motive?
How would I put it? I'm just trying to be politically correct.
Oh, I see. Are your team members like taking notes?
No, none of them are here, but
okay.
I just have to be political.
Yeah.
I think we all have different interpretation of what we expect from the teamwork, and unfortunately, the team's brief was built from the collection of our individual expectation. It was in P3M. We did not, the differences would have been if we had handed the brief, then we could have said, oh, it's because the brief was not complete, or the brief had some gaps, but it was an individual collection of our expectation, and that affected our contribution. It ended up that some people's expectations were in the forefront of the team work, and the people whose expectations are not of top priority did not really contribute as much as they could have.
So you have described it now as well conceptually and abstract, which was quite an art in itself. What it comes to is that you had that notion that different ideas or understandings really kind of divided your team, and when it came to the first comparison, what are we actually doing, there were some that kind of stepped back and this is not what I expected, and others were like, wow, this is brilliant, let's do more of this. Yeah, and that was the divide point. Yeah, is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So what about the conformity? We had somebody that actually opposed that, right? Where the motives were right from the beginning. Yeah, can you explore a little bit on this?
We did have the same motive. Like, it's not that we didn't have the same motive. We wanted to achieve good grades, like all of us.
So you were all after top marks.
Yeah, we all wanted good marks.
Excellent. Yeah.
But I think some of us wanted a higher mark than the rest of them, than the rest of the people, and
How did you figure this out?
because of their level of motivation and contribution.
Okay. So you had like set your timetable.
Yes.
8 hours a week, we sit together down and we do this throughout the
It
whole
was 8
semester.
hours a week.
And
Some
then we will
Saturday
have like
and something like that. So yes, I mean, it wasn't like people were not cooperative. They were very cooperative. But the amount of work that was put in, like, I don't know, I just feel that, the amount of work that was put in was, it kind of, because they were so cooperative, the results were affected. Like.
So did you feel that some in the team didn't pull their weight enough?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so you wanted the 100%,
yeah.
and your team member was like, 70 is fine, it's distinction.
Yeah.
There's no number written on the end certificate, yeah? So, this is of course bringing team morale down.
And that's what happened, like the results were not exceptional, but they were alright. So, I mean.
And you were disappointed, and you were like, oh, come on, we could have done better.
A little bit, yes.
Okay. So, but in a way, you had same motives, but then they deferred the delivery. Yeah? So it comes back to the expectations, where you actually are. Yeah. Okay, let's go one step further and look at our academics that in the past have looked at this before. We have here, by the way, emerging theories. Yeah. I should point out this lecture refers a lot to group theory, yeah, which is a very strong theory. It's about collectives performing. There's a constructive collectivism as a current theory, a spin-off from group theory. There's a divide. We have a divide as well in psychology group theory, and it has to do with cognitive and collective. Yeah, so there are different key terms. I just look at the group here. Yeah? So if you're interested in this topic, search a little bit around or write me an email. Yeah? There's cool stuff out there. Yeah? But anyway, let's come to the Nolans quote, yeah, from 1987, nearly as recent. Yeah? Unfortunately, many people decide to be competitive in a mixed motive situation. Once they start acting competitively or putting in reduced efforts for the group, others respond in the same way. The end result is poor group performance. I could kind of hear that a little bit out in your case. And I think it was the same, yeah, with the earlier example of the group performance where expectations weren't really met. Why do we take that stance? What do you think about this? Is this true for you?
Yeah, this is particularly true when I want to delve back into Alan's video football.
Yeah?
Yeah. If Ghana, for instance, when we qualify for the Cup of Nations or even the World Cup, there's always, I think, 10,000 or 20,000 pounds extra, dollars extra for anyone who would score a goal. So at the end of the day, more players wanted to amass more money by scoring more goals. That was competition, and it was good to score goals. By the end of the day, instead of giving out the ball to someone else to score so that you have a group success, players were trying to amass money for themselves by being greedy, so as to put it. So at the end of the day, you have poor results and performance. I think.
So you have effectively 11 players that run like to the front trying to shoot the goal. Yeah? This is really the incentives that you have given, yeah? Which is a dilemma, of course. Yeah. So, but actually thinking about it, yeah, we have in universities the same. Yeah, I'm being rewarded on how many papers I publish, and here's the surprising thing. I have done the math, yeah, and I think other football players have too. Yeah, I suspect here a collaborative effort, yeah, that is hidden in the competitive effort. Yeah, it's hidden under competition. There are 3 or 4 that have put themselves together. I play you the pass. You shoot the goal, we go quarter, 3/4, or something like that. I'm not quite sure about it, but I think they've worked something else, because in science we see this, in publications, I perform, or Alex performs, we both perform in our journal publications per year, last year, this year, and the next year, because we have a 2-year peer review time till our journals get published. We will outcompete a lot of our colleagues here. It's because we collaborate. Yeah, I write a lot of papers with Chalmers, and then some Danish guys as well, some German and Swiss guys, and then I have as well clusters here in the UK. And just by the amount of people that I've named, we all write one paper together, yeah, and then we spin out on the methodology, we explain what the findings were, what the limitations were. So I've already indicated, yeah, I've at least 6 publications now per year. Yeah, my colleagues that write every paper themselves, they have just 3. So there may be a hint here. Yeah, I'm not saying that I haven't written those papers, but my efforts are a lot less. Yeah, so the collaborative effort has something to gain in situations like that. Yeah? And this is to recognize as well in the project team. Yeah? So when you come back to the football team, yeah, if now Ghana, I'm on thin ice with the strikers, I have to admit, yeah. Who is a good striker that shoots a lot of goals?
Someone young.
Yeah, okay, so we take his example. And who plays normally the pass? Have you observed this? Who promotes him in like the goal scoring? Because there will be a promoter, of course, yeah?
I can't get the name immediately.
Okay. But this is interesting to watch out for this, yeah? So we see this in a tendency, and the empiry that Nolan is employing and at all. I think you have the book as well. Do you use this book still? No? Wall and Nolan? I think you have the newest version, right? Maybe? Okay. It's in the references, we can have a look later. But they actually did in Paris, and this is a trend. Yeah, but be careful with trends, so there are as well exceptions that work it out the other way around. And they can be more successful. Yeah, this is important to recognize. So competition encourages more competition. This is a general trend. So you could build a hypothesis on it, but I've already told you, yeah, in science, actually you will see the opposite. Yeah, if you look at elite performing scientists, they often collaborate. Yeah. Kerr and Brun came up with the opposing notion here. When team members believe that contributions to the team are valuable and important, they are more likely to contribute. This is maybe as well coming back to the group examples that we have. Yeah?
I think that was one of the problems in my group. That, I mean, there was some of us, like there were some people in the group who would not, you know, like, even though there were some people who made valuable contributions because they had some language problems and stuff like that, they kind of dissed their, like, not really dissed, but that's the wrong word to use, but they didn't really give that much importance to their contributions, and that's
they themselves?
No, not they themselves, the other group members.
Okay.
So that kind of, that's what I feel, that that probably discouraged them to contribute more, and that kind of hindered the whole performance of the group.
So rhetoric, yeah, or ability with language,
Yeah.
sometimes as well romantically summarized as charisma, yeah, has a strong impact, yeah. This is very important to recognize. How do you filter the value adding or the contributing ideas, yeah, that you actually get the right outcome? Yeah? This is very important to recognize that is a big problem. Yeah? And as project managers, we have a very difficult role there. Yeah, but what was a good point? Yeah? Dawes actually iterated this a little bit further and pointed out that team members are more likely to act cooperatively if they believe that others are likely to cooperate too. And so cooperation encourages more cooperation. That was a linear thought from it. Quick thought, is this true? Have you had this situation where you were in a team and yeah, you were supposed to do something and then the team members turned up and it was all done? And you were like, wow, this is amazing. Next time I will... Did you have a situation like this ever before? No? I was just playing that thought example with Alex really in the office, and we were like, actually this is how you train somebody to not cooperate. Yeah, if your team members kind of solve it for you, then there's a danger on the individual notion. But if you, of course, have the team identity, then you don't want to be the one that doesn't contribute. So you need first this team bias, that you really believe as well in the team before that actually happens. Because if you don't believe in the team and you see it as a side aspect, for example, in a company where you have your normal duty and then you contribute on a project kind of half-hearted, then it can be, it's nice to be in that team, yeah, but if you didn't want to be in the team, yeah, with a mixed motives in the first place, and everybody else is keenly contributing, you may be quite happy that you don't have to pull your weight on it, yeah? or as it was perceived earlier. Yeah? So there again, yeah, take this with a hint of salt, but in a tendency they showed that is true. Yeah? What they related this to break it actually down and see where the difference comes from, is culture, personality, and organizational rewards. And yeah, it goes a little bit back to what we had last week, yeah, the relationship between leadership and culture. Yeah. So when I'm a little bit disappointed that it's here Hofstedt, to be quite honest, but this seems to be how Alan has really built this lecture. He was very keen on the cultural differences along the notion from individualist collectivist notion. Yeah, and this has, of course, Hofstede as well as the Globe. Those were the forerunners of pointing out national differences. Yeah, but as we know better from the last seminar. Yeah, if you remember, we arrived at the definition that culture is a way where stress is positive. Yeah, where we are stressed, but it's positive stress, so we still perform, and we perform better than we thought ourselves. Yeah? I hope you could take that notion, yeah, from the cultural diversity and what motivates us. Yeah, so this is a real thing. And with the cultural nationality, this is really, do you think national differences, cultural values can affect how you work in teams? Yes, cultural values, and they do affect, but national difference, we challenged that idea. Yeah, you remember where we had, who was again in Russia? Also, there was somebody always in Russia, right? And I was a lot in Singapore and thinking as well occasionally of Russia. Yeah? So nationalities didn't really stick up to our test, yeah, when we did the implement behind it. Yeah, so see that was a print of wall, was a care. There is a critique more recently. McSweeney was the first that pointed it out. Then Hofstede iterated. He came up with additional dimensions. So the model is supposed to still work quite well. Do you know where Hofstede's culture came from? Where the national differences came from? Where did he conduct his survey? Did he do it with the whole world? Did he give it to everybody? Have you filled one? Well, your parents probably. In 1980, I think we were not all able to fill it ourselves by that stage, yeah? Or it would have been ambiguous, there was interpretation. But have you been part of that survey? No. And I doubt your parents either, if they don't work for IBM. Yeah? Hofstede did this study in IBM. They had a lot of employees over the world. Yeah, they had around 80 to 90,000 employees in different countries. But it's a particular industry, yeah? So you recruit certain people. And the differences within that was really what he identified as national values. Yeah? Can I just ask, let's think about it in maybe a different notion. Have you come across, like, cooking is always a beautiful example, I find myself. Have you had like the pleasure of cooking with one of your friends and they cooked the same meal that you have cooked many times but they did it completely different? Were you surprised? So we had two, yeah? You two have experiences. Was it the same tasty? I suppose this is what it comes to, isn't it? Was it tasty? Did you try it?
Yeah, I like mine better.
Okay, yeah, so a little bit competition here, yeah, I like that, yeah. And what about you?
It was different, but
It's never the same.
It's
Try
not
it, but my cooking skills are very poor.
Oh, so you did like the other cooking more, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, like you mean if a friend makes a meal and you try to prepare the same meal?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're usually my friends.
Oh, okay, okay.
Version.
Oh, okay,
My
okay.
version.
Yeah, no. This is not how I meant it.
Okay.
I give the example myself. I had recently the pleasure of doing a cheese fondue, yeah, and my grandparents, well, it's complicated, but my grandparents lived in Switzerland, in Graubünden, the Italian part, but it doesn't really matter. So they have a cheese fondue, yeah, and just to give you the idea, yeah, you basically buy a lot of ingredients. It's mostly cheese. Yeah, there are other ingredients, but there is a whole procedure behind it. You have to grind the cheese very fine. Then you start melting it in with certain herbs, yeah, and it's not that many herbs actually, but you put a few ingredients in, and then you use alcohol, yeah, to melt it in. Yeah? This is the idea. Then more recently I got introduced to a French interpretation, and I'm not sure that was really the proper way of doing it, but it was literally just the liquids in, and then the chunks of cheese in, and then just keeping waiting till the blocks melt, yeah. And it has a completely different sensation. First of all, the smells are completely different. Yeah? You go through smell heights. Yeah? The alcohol evaporates very quickly, actually, as a matter of fact, what I could tell. And you smell basically burning as well. Yeah? So it's a very different smell experience, and the taste was roughly the same, I have to admit this, but still, it was very different. Yeah? So I was surprised about that. Yeah, but it was a bad example. Normally, typical meals like rice meals are a good example, because you can make rice in many different ways. And it is very surprising how people do this. Yeah? So have a look out for it. Yeah? And it's fascinating. Yeah? We do the same thing in very different ways. And the taste is, if you step a little bit away from your, maybe, I don't want to say self-pride, yeah, or cooking pride. Yeah, exactly. You will probably see it tastes very well too. Yeah, and this is important to recognize.
It's more funny when it's national dishes that people have pride in as well.
Oh yeah.
They get very competitive. Some dishes, people just, they do it differently and you agree to disagree and all that. But when it's a national or local dish, two people are doing it, people fight.
So you have seen that, yeah? It tipped over, and there was so much protection.
Yeah, no, you're doing it wrong, no, mine's better, and you're doing it wrong, and mine's better, and no, this is the way to do it, no, that's the way to do it. They taste pretty much the same as well, but little differences with national pride.
Yeah. Okay, so this is actually then even worse, yeah, if there are particular procedures. Yeah, but okay, let's have a deeper look then into, this was a cultural influence, yeah, let's have a look in the personality. Yeah, some people are more competitive than others and act more competitively regardless of the situation. So here's a suspicion again with cooking your national dish. And they misperceive situations as well and redefine them as an opportunity to act competitively. Yeah, this is actually the worst. Yeah, so if you're in a time constraint or resource constraint undertaking, yeah, then maybe it's a time really to cooperate. Yeah, and then somebody else thinks it's like, who's a better project manager? Yeah, that is really bad. Yeah, but it has potential. Yeah, and it happens repeatedly. Yeah. Has anybody experienced this, where it was really a call for cooperation, and suddenly you were like faced with clear competitive statements?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've witnessed that.
Can you give us like an insight into this?
Yeah, it was last year.
Oh, okay.
Last semester in the project program portfolio one particular group member went exactly that, epitomised that exactly. There's a bit of competition at the start as the group get together and you define your roles and you work out how you work together, but then for the remainder of the project everyone worked as a collaboration apart from one particular group member who saw every crack in everyone's work was an opportunity to act competitively and put them down, and so not necessarily suggesting how to do it better, but just pick up on the negatives quite often, and we're just constantly attempting to put others down in the group to elevate their position, and just saw everything as a competitive way of highlighting that they were the leader, perhaps. And it was a very negative effect on overall group performance.
Okay, so it was painful.
It was, yeah. I mean, it wasn't directly sort of fighting, but it did have an overall negative effect on group performance.
And did it lead that all these identified weaknesses were actually improved and submitted in the end?
A few, but not many. Most were identified as you have a shortfall at that. Someone would have tried to submit some work and they'd have been told, no, there's a shortfall, you've not done this bit correctly. But then with no follow-up to perhaps consider this, it was just, that's bad. And then left like that. And just so they could say, look, mine's perfect, but yours has got a mistake in it.
Okay.
And it,
so this is very bad, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else's maybe with a, yeah?
I think drawing from Chris's experience, I think we all have different interpretation of what is a competition. What I could perceive is that the fellow might not think it's a competitive attitude. And I discovered that some personality type are more prone to being critical. And if you put that in a team context, it might look as if this person is just about being competitive, and which might just be as a result of that person's personality.
Yeah, this is a very good point. Where we had a very famous case in a very big German company very recently that didn't make the media. It's a colleague that researched leadership styles in that area, and he observed this. Yeah? There was a German manager that was recognized for having changed like quite a few of departments into very profitable, yeah, I don't know, departments, I guess. And he was transferred to China to actually build up a department and harmonize it with the existing structure. And in Germany, we have kind of a strange culture in that company. In that company, I should point out. There is only, you did this wrong, and otherwise I don't have to reward you. So this is wrong, that needs work. And if I don't say anything, this is a reward. Yeah? And in the Chinese company, it was exactly the opposite. Yeah? It was design teams, and it was all about encouraging each other, recognizing what's good. Yeah? And he missed the point. That this was really, it was just, this is, he tried to create competition between the teams, yeah, but the teams knew each other. They actually moved around the whole time, so it created counterproductive culture. And he had to be actually removed from the CEO. And so it was a complete drama. And this guy is now back in Germany, where he works well, but it's not so transferable. Yeah? So that is what it came to. And it had probably to do a little bit as well with his personality. Yeah? But there's clearly a notion of this. What I did recently was research that I'm doing on knowledge management, and that was terrifying. We had like, after the interviews, the project managers tried to figure out where they are, and they wanted to figure out how on major projects other project managers had done the job. So he asked the question, how did you manage the stakeholder consultation on a major project? Yeah, if you want to know the project, it's the Central Station in Stuttgart. Yeah? If you want to see how to do stakeholder management badly, yeah, and see the whole politics that pop up, look at that project. It's in English, it's in all languages now. It's a disaster. Yeah? And he phoned up the guys in England, and the English project manager, and this is a quote, yeah, said just to him like, why do I have to teach you now project management? Do you not have a qualification? Yeah, this is when you enter into a competitively harvested environment. Yeah? So be aware of that. Yeah? He had just tough luck. I think this was the one guy that he had. Again, I wouldn't really put that to culture. Knowledge management does actually work well in the UK in comparison to Germany. Yeah? So anyway, okay. What was it brought down to? Well, Knight and Dubrow broke it actually up into personality types. They have done that very simple. Yeah? What I do like is personality and characteristics are normally associated with very old philosophic concepts to do with blood type. Yeah? To give you a hint in what that goes, it's normally melancholic or aggressive. Yeah? Those are different types of characteristics. So this is actually a new way of looking at personality, but it has a little bit parallel there still. Yeah? So competitors being output performing and outperforming others. Yeah, this is very important. And then you have the cooperations leading to or cooperators really being after the group success. Yeah? So this is good if you have somebody in the team, but then you have as well individualists that are after personal success, but if the success is defined over the group success, yeah, then you have a synergy. Yeah? So those are potential personalities that you may find in your teams as a project manager. I hope that makes sense. An interesting model, you can use it very simply. Yeah, and it's mostly a good indicator. Doesn't really go too much into how you actually deal with competitors integrating, it just flags up, this is a competitor, use him in his strengths. Yeah, but there's of course an issue if you then have other team members. Yeah, how do you integrate this? This is a big question that isn't answered in that literature. Last one, but not least, is the organizational notion, and here Alan has really put the emphasis on the HR practices, yeah, and the organizational rewards. Yeah, and here really focusing on yeah, the HR practices in organizations can be a disrupt teamwork, a lack of rewards for successful teams, or as well the opposite. Yeah, if you have the wrong reward system, it can create unhappiness for all. Yeah, so in a way, it was a very good example. So organizations can measure performance on an individual level and do not consider team performance. Yeah, you have that as well in academia. We as well guilty of this. Yeah, although most of our research projects are team efforts, yeah, we are individually actually evaluated. Yeah. But we know this all in the project team, so when our individual appraisers, we all claim we wrote the whole paper, yeah? And the other three authors weren't really part of the paper, but anyway. Now there are other dynamics, yeah? So I'm just joking about this, we don't, we indicate actually in percentage what we have done, but it goes in a wrong direction. Yeah? So if you have a project team, try to define it as well, yeah? As a project manager in the right direction. Yeah? You can, for example, benchmark against other teams. Yeah? Like if you have a team, having a team that you want to compete against or use as a benchmark, it's very powerful. Yeah? So consequently, employees receive mixed messages. Yeah? So it was a little bit like the football example. Yeah? If I shoot the goal, I get the £20,000. If we win, we get 5. That's what, it's a little bit the dilemma if you create a scenario like that. Yeah. So, what can we actually making out of this? Yeah. When it comes to this, we have to look as well at the communication and goal confusion that is actually a result of this. Yeah. And here in particular, individual competition creates confusion about goals, which leads to distrust over motives and thus to poor communication. I'm not sure that that is true. What do you think about this? Is this true? If you're thinking overall, was it competitive between the waiters? Did they not communicate?
It was competitive, but not to a degree where it really disrupted. They had a higher regard for overall performance, I think, than individual performance.
So did they go partying afterwards when work was over? Okay.
They were friends afterwards, generally.
Okay, then of course the follow-up question, your team member that always criticized, was it leading to poor communication?
Yeah, that led to poor communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think communication in this context, poor communication may not be verbal communication.
Yeah.
It might be just misinterpretation of body language.
Yeah.
And so in environments where competition is very intensive, body language counts a lot than the words that are actually spoken.
Yeah, you're quite right. You end up with the communication, poor communication leads here as well to political behavior. Yeah? So you don't maybe try too hard to really understand what he tries to say. Yeah? You see kind of the defensive part and stick with it, and you say like, well, what do you mean by this? Yeah, or you know, there's this is just an example. Yeah, but it leads as well to a lack of cooperation, wanting to actually collaborate. Yeah? I hope that makes sense. Yeah? But this was a very good point. Yeah? Okay, this was really divided into 3 points by Leufkens and Noderhaven. Distrust leads to mixed goals and reduced communication as a general tendency. And then communication requires trust. Without trust, there is no reason to communicate. Ironically, this is as well true in the engineering company because they don't believe, well, I shouldn't say believe. Yeah, there is a lack of trust within the company cluster. They prefer control and steering, quite frankly. And their communication, the project management, is mostly hard skills. So they have Gantt charts where they ask you to perform. And so every individual knows what they have to do, and then it's like a machine nearly. Yeah? Now it's your time to perform. Quickly, go in, and have you performed? Yeah, okay. That's the communication. So I was really fascinated with this. And I asked as well, do you know actually the first, they speak to each other by Mr. So-and-so and Mrs. and Miss. Yeah, so, I asked her, did you know their first name? I didn't know half of the first names either, so creates a certain environment. Yeah? But yeah, it works as well, surprisingly. Yeah? But a third one here to our distrust and motives with regard to communication and goal confusion. Third one, over time, internal competition reduces communication within the team. Yeah? So those are the assumptions, and this comes really from Rifkins and Noderhaven when it comes to the discussion of project management dilemmas from the social, yeah? And where the projects really come to a standpoint. Yeah. Again, CS was, I think I can already make examples up in my mind, and you probably too, where this is not true. Yeah, but in a tendency, this is probably true. So let's move a little bit forward. Let's look at intergroup competition. What do you think about that? What is intergroup? We have intra. Yeah, exactly. So you have another group. Yeah. So as a group, you are united. You may want to even call it a team. Yeah. But now you have another group. So this is actually where it comes into a more dangerous series, and I say dangerous because they're very powerful. They resonate deep with us as people. Yeah, I see that in sports teams. I see that in certain companies. Yeah, they create a very strong value and cohesive team. Yeah? So groups, Iziko came up with the following. Actually, it was a whole team. Yeah? They argued groups are more likely to act competitively with each other than individuals. Yeah, so does it make sense? So if you have a group that you're competing against, yeah, so potentially our project, program, and portfolio management assignment, yeah, but there's no competition against each other really. But if you would interpret it that way, yeah, then you actually create like a, what do we create here? Competition in a group?
No. Between the groups.
Yeah, what do you create within the group?
Collaboration, cooperation.
Yeah.
It's us against them.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I wanted to hear. Us against them. It's a very strong notion. Yeah? It goes very deep. It thrives on our survival instincts. Yeah? So it's very strong. And one explanation for this effect relates to social identity theory. If you start identifying with your group, it can create, as you said, yeah, as a nation, your national dish. It can become, you go outrageously over the top potentially in your reaction. Yeah? Just like, I don't like this meal. And it's like, how can you not like my national dish? This is not possible. Yeah? So, well, you may say that, but you know, if it goes into a fist fight, all I'm saying, you know, it's a little bit over the top. Yeah, so it goes deep with us. Yeah, yeah. Hock actually brought it a stage further with social identity theory, and again, it's really there's a different theory to this. This is a lot more powerful actually. Yeah, but he put it the following way in terms of he brought it actually down first of all that we have to recognize to group cognition. Yeah? This is what the group is aware of, or what you focus your efforts on. Yeah? In terms of people's self-conception as a group members, yeah? A group exists psychologically if 3 or more people construe and evaluate themselves in terms of shared attributes that distinguish or differentiate them collectively from other people. Yeah? This is extremely strong. The fist fight with the national dish, I have a similar one, I explained that earlier. Used to row here for Northumbria, which we didn't have a big rowing team, so I have to admit in shame, yeah, I rowed for Durham. But we rowed against Newcastle University, and there's a cup where you row against each other. And in the start there was a little bit mocking and water spray, you know, nothing serious, happens any regatta, yeah. But this particular one of our team was like, okay, I had it. And he went over to a Newcastle rower and nearly hit him. If his colleague wouldn't have pulled him quickly back. Yeah? There's no reason for it. Yeah? After the race, you sit together and have a nice dinner and enjoy the effort. Yeah, this is the idea behind it. It's a game. Yeah, it's not. Anyway, we don't get paid the 20,000, unfortunately, for winning. Yeah, it's just like a rowing race. Yeah? But this is how powerful it can be. Yeah? So use it with care. Yeah? So leading in group bias, here an individual views his or her own group in overtly positive terms and views out groups in overtly negative terms. Yeah? This is very powerful. Yeah? Has anybody experienced anything in that regard?
Yeah. Even our coursework or group work, like, oh, let me see what's going on here. No, it's our teamwork and you can't look at each other. It happens everywhere.
So it was exactly that behavior, yeah? Oh. And then afterwards, Eric and I loaded up that everyone can see it. No, what is he doing? Yeah.
Yeah, I think all sports teams, I think, do it to differing degrees. But I used to play rugby, and like you said, it's very competitive before, there's people fighting, but afterwards, and you, like you say, you think you're amazing, and even the coaches are telling you how positive and how much better you are than them, and you get this warped perspective that the other team are terrible, they're awful people, they're not even there, they're just animals. And then afterwards you're just sitting in a bar having a beer, everyone together, and you forget who's almost in which team, it doesn't really matter, but for that instant.
Actually, rugby is even more intense probably in that, yeah, because you try actually physically to rip each other apart. So, but okay, yeah, it's
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So strong mechanism. Yeah. So I've seen it in a few project teams. Yeah. If you're interested in that, just have a look at Formula One. Yeah. Have a look at the teams. Yeah. Some are very cohesive. Others, you feel like I shouldn't name any. There was a Renault team last year where I wouldn't want to have been a driver. You kind of felt the content. Yeah? I think people were bought in late and never mind. But have a look at well-performing Formula One teams, yeah? How they react. They're very competitively. Yeah? And if you speak to them, they all think they're exactly what you recognize. Yeah?
Yeah.
We are the best team by far. Even though there may be other teams that are a lot better. Yeah? But that doesn't really matter. It was just tough luck, yeah, in the past. So to speak. Yeah? Okay, so let's have another look then at the intergroup competition. Yeah, the conclusion from this, of course, is then thus when other groups challenge the superiority of one's group, members rally to support their group and attack the out group. Yeah, so here it's even dramatized. Yeah, there is a lot of literature around this. Yeah, it's very fascinating. You can see this potentially as well in other industries, yeah, when automotive designs, for example, compete. That is as well quite, I shouldn't say entertaining, but it gets kind of serious. Yeah, they take it very serious. So if you're interested in this, there's a lot of good literature around it. So have you had any experience of this? Well, we had the discussion earlier on. What I wanted to really add here is oh no, wait. Oh yeah, it is correct, yeah. From Cohen and Baby, yeah. Increased communication, improved task coordination, group satisfaction and team performance and success versus the cooperative teams experience on top of it, yeah. Cooperative teams experiencing less tension, fewer conflicts and verbal confrontations. Yeah. What is the optimal way? What would we want in a project? Do we want like cooperation, no questions asked, all harmonizing?
Somewhere in the middle a little bit, I would think. without competition, you just don't progress. If you cut competition out totally, innovation and betterment just don't really happen that way. It seems to slow down very much. I think, especially innovative.
Yeah.
I think I do not really agree with the second sequence.
Oh, here. Cooperative teams experience less tension.
Less verbal confrontation. We are silent teams that are very competitive. It's just about the body language, as I said.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be verbal communication. It could be non-verbal communication, yet they are very competitive.
Yeah, you have a point there. But I think to actually combine the two, yeah, in a project, maybe not necessarily competition. There is an element of competition, but you want to allow that ideas are allowed to compete. Yeah, that you really come to solutions that are advancing your project. Yeah? You maybe want to defer from the notion that it becomes overly competitive. Who had the best ideas? Yeah? You want to defer from that. Yeah, but you want to be able to question ideas as well. Yeah? If they're actually adding value. Yeah? Especially if you have key performance indicators and things like that. Yeah? Yeah, let's have a look at the challenges of cooperation, of course. Yeah, those were the benefits. Sorry, I forgot about that. Challenges of cooperation. However, highly cooperative groups tend to become highly coercive. Yeah, similar that means. Yeah, or agreeing with each other. Team members become excessively socially and emotionally connected. Yeah, can anybody subscribe to that? Did you have a project that you didn't want to stop? Where it just felt so great and it was so much fun that... Okay, some people look at me in disbelief.
Oh yeah, I had a group project even in school in the past where we had a team that everybody was really enthusiastic and motivated, and because we all got along quite well, we actually were very emotionally, socially connected to it. Yeah, we really saw it as a masterpiece. Really weird at the time because it was just a school assignment, I guess, because everybody really worked well together. It kind of stimulated everyone to even put more work in. Yeah.
Did you hand in time?
Yes, we did.
Okay, this is good.
Definitely.
It can go wrong, be aware, for all the project managers of you. I have been on a marketing project and I have to admit I was just new on it. It was a project
I
engineer.
have to say it's a unique example from my school experiences and group projects, I have to say. But that one was quite excellent.
Okay. Very good. So it can be a very satisfying experience, yeah, and socially and emotionally connecting. And I had such a project. This was my first one in South Africa. Yeah. I worked with the marketing team, and they were all young team members, yeah, all starting, and we were fully motivated. And we had done our project, and our project manager didn't submit it. And then we met again, and we, yeah, this is brilliant. And had a good time as well. We met in different locations where we wanted to implement it. Yeah, so we had the full effect. But we could have submitted it 2 weeks earlier, and it was this blueness, yeah, that we didn't want this project to finish, yeah, because it was a great experience. I'm not sure that we were all consciously aware of it. I was certainly not at the time, but there's literature to it. Yeah, be careful. Like there's a point where you should just recognize it's done. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look. I have as well 2 more quotes to this. So highly coercive groups inevitably demand membership conformity. Yeah, this is when you are asked to all dress the same way. Yeah, then you should be very careful. Yeah, this is extreme form. But I make jokes about this. Yeah, but it's, for example, computer compliance. Yeah, so ICT systems being communicated as this is the ultimate way, yeah, and you're used to something else. This is normally a sign that you're going in a certain coerciveness. Yeah. And keep an eye on this. Yeah, that can have bad side effects, as we were identifying. You may not question certain decisions anymore. What's the best, or what can actually contribute? And another quote from NIMS and STOR, they really realize conformity can help teams to operate, but also be resistant to outside influences and internal change. Yeah, there's always a danger with this. And any questions at that point? Further objections? Okay, otherwise I would leave it for today with this. I have I will upload this under Alan's folder. So this will be in Alan's folder. The references that are not in my seminar notes, are attached at the end, because I couldn't find this in Alan Osborne's seminar notes. So in a way, here they are. Any questions? Otherwise, I would leave it with this for today, because I'm as well not 100% fit. My voice is going again, so it's kind of a nightmare. But yeah, we leave it with that. If you have questions, just come to me. Otherwise, enjoy the evening, and I'll see you next week.